Welcome to Now in the 90s, where we look at the game releases of 30 years ago today. This week, Mario Sidekick gets his own game, the Super Nintendo gets a port of a Genesis game, and a Neo Geo game. Hi, I'm your host, Jared, and today is June 3rd, 1992. This video is sponsored by Magic Spoon. Go to magicspoon.com/ProJared and get $5 off of your order. As a kid in the 90s, nothing was better than waking up Saturday mornings, watching cartoons, playing video games, and eating cereal. As an adult, I still do most of those things, but the cereal part became harder. Thankfully, Magic Spoon comes in to change my favorite bowl-based breakfast. Magic Spoon cereal has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. With each serving at only 140 calories, it's finally possible to eat cereal like a kid again while being a healthy, responsible adult. It's gluten-free, soy-free, wheat-free, and keto-friendly. Just because it's an adult cereal doesn't mean it needs to be plain and boring. Magic Spoon offers a variety of flavors, including cocoa, frosted, peanut butter, cookies and cream, and my personal favorite, fruity. And now the honey nut flavor will be a permanent addition to the Magic Spoon flavors. Go to magicspoon.com/ProJared or use the link in the description below to get $5 off of your order. Now available to ship in Canada and the UK. Once again, that's magicspoon.com/ProJared. These days, everyone knows the Yoshi games for being these cute, adorable platformers that's all about eating all kinds of fruit. But long before any of that, Yoshi got his debut game for the NES, aptly titled Yoshi, released June 1st, 1992. When Super Mario World came out for the Super Famicom in 1990, the introduction of Yoshi did something for Nintendo that was incredibly rare for games at the time. Yoshi appealed to both children and adult women. Knowing an opportunity when they see one, Nintendo quickly greenlit a spin-off starring Yoshi for the aging NES system. This was also to show that Nintendo was going to continue supporting the NES after the SNES came out. Now in the 90s, when the Super Nintendo came out, parents were upset. They felt that their investment into the 8-bit machine was wasted. The old console, now obsolete.
Just in time for Christmas, the Japanese toy maker Nintendo has come out with a new set of electronic video games. At $200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system, and you can't mix and match. Some parents are refusing to be taken in.
I'm going to say no, and I'm going to explain to him how people market things to make you spend more money.
Nintendo controls 80% of the video market, though some game players prefer the pictures of its competitor Sega. Some of the new games look like updated takes on fairly well-known formats. In the racing game of F-Zero, you're in a futuristic race car. Oh, I guess I should watch where I'm driving instead of talking. If you're a real good player, meaning you've got the skill of a 9 or 10-year-old, you can even try to jump your car. And Shockneck, Channel 4 News.
Nintendo pivoted their marketing strategy by saying that the Super Nintendo was for advanced players seeking new challenges, and that the NES would continue to get games that are perfect for the casual gamer. One of their ways that Nintendo was going to prove this was by releasing Yoshi. In a game called Yoshi, about Yoshis and starring Yoshi, naturally, you play as Mario. Enemies slowly drop down onto different plates and use Mario to swap them around. However, get these enemies onto an eggshell and then close it with an eggshell top, it'll consume itself and hatch a new Yoshi. The more enemies there are as food, the bigger the Yoshi. From a cute little baby Yoshi to what can only be described as big chunk Yoshi. That's pretty much it. That's the entire game. There would be a Game Boy version of this released 1 month later.
There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide. 'Cause here comes Yoshi, and he's up against Goombas, Groovers, Pooh Buddies, and Piranha Plants in Nintendo's new stack and sandwich puzzle game called Yoshi. Match the creatures and wipe them out. Play alone or with a friend, but mix them and you won't stand a chance. It's challenging. It's overwhelming.
Hey, Yoshi!
It's Yoshi, the new puzzle game for Game Boy or NES. Now you're playing with power.
Yoshi was developed in only 6 months. The developer at the time had this really ambitious RPG that they wanted to work on, but they needed some funding to keep the company afloat while they worked on their grand idea. So when Nintendo approached them about making Yoshi, they gladly accepted for the extra income while they worked on their big idea. That development studio is called Game Freak, and their ambitious RPG idea would eventually become Pokemon. Pokemon artist Ken Sugimori created the gameplay concept for Yoshi, and the music was done by longtime Pokemon composer Junichi Masuda. Growing up, I only played the NES version a little bit, but I did own the Game Boy version, and I played that more than Tetris. And the game is okay. It's a simple puzzle game with not a whole lot of staying power. The novelty of seeing the different sized Yoshi hatch wears off really quickly. Yoshi received fairly positive reviews at the time, praising its fast-paced gameplay and fun visuals. Nintendo Power graded it with an average of a 3.7 out of 5 and graded the Game Boy version with an average of a 3.6 out of 5. Having played it a bunch myself, I'm telling you these days, it's a different story. Upon its re-release for the Wii's Virtual Console in 2007, Yoshi received middling reviews from outlets, with the main criticism being that the gameplay simply isn't engaging enough. And they're right, the gameplay is boring. But I guess at the time, everyone was just too excited to see more Yoshi. This week also featured a couple of arcade games coming home, one of them being Thunder Spirits, released this week for the Super Nintendo. You see, Thunder Spirits is actually a port of Thunder Force AC in the arcade, and Thunder Force AC is actually a port of Thunder Force 3 for the Sega Genesis. So if you're curious about the name change, the biggest theory has to do with the co-owned copyright of the original, the developer, Technosoft, and the publisher of Thunder Force 3, Sega. Gameplay-wise, it's neat. Unlike a lot of shooters where you stick with one weapon and upgrade it, Thunder Spirits lets you switch between 5 different weapons. Unfortunately, the SNES version of the game comes with a problem. Compared to the Genesis version of Thunder Force 3, Thunder Spirits has occasional slowdown. In general, the SNES version didn't really offer much in terms of new content, other than a new soundtrack and some graphical adjustments. Reviews for Thunder Spirits were positive, but the slowdown was a big mark against it. Now, since then, Sega has announced that they have obtained ownership of the Thunder Force IP, allowing them to properly re-release Thunder Force 3 for the Nintendo 3DS as part of Sega Classics Collection. The other arcade game this week is Ninja Commando, released for the Neo Geo on May 29th, 1992. Ninja Commando is a top-down shooter in the same vein as Ikari Warriors, Pocky and Rocky, or the Master System's Rambo. Move up on the screen throwing all kinds of projectiles to destroy everyone and everything in your way while doing ninja flips using ninja magic and all kinds of other cool ninja things. Personality was injected into the gameplay by having the characters shout things next to their life bar, saying things like, "Yeah! Fire attack! Ora!" and dead. It has a surprising amount of cutscenes for an arcade shooter. The story scenes feature the main characters with such memorable names as Joe Tiger, Rayar Dragon, and Ryu Eagle. They battle the evil Spider and stop him from using a time machine to destroy both past and present, bringing the players through different stages such as World War II, the Chinese era of the Three Kingdoms, and the Stone Age. Fun fact about Ninja Commando: it released May 29th, 1992 for the Neo Geo AES home console. It released worldwide in arcades May 30th, 1992, one day later, technically making this a home console game first. Ninja Commando would see re-releases, the first one being for the Neo Geo CD in October of 1996. It would see itself on the Wii's Virtual Console in 2008, and it's available for download right now on the Nintendo Switch. When it came out, Ninja Commando received high praise for its graphics, animation, and fun. In Game Informer issue number 6, it received review scores of 6.75, 8.75, and an 8. The review even states that, with so many moves, it'll keep your thumbs pumping for some time. It's an arcade game at home where you have a memory card that sometime is about 30 minutes. This week, I counted 1 SNES game, 3 NES games, 1 on the Game Gear, and of course 1 for the Neo Geo, for a total of 6 games this week in 1992. The biggest release was Yoshi. While it isn't Mario World numbers, it would go on to sell 500,000 copies in its first day in Japan alone. Over in the collector's corner, despite its initial success, Yoshi's value has absolutely plummeted, making it the biggest value dropper. A loose copy is less than $10, and a complete one is just under $40. For a Nintendo game featuring a character from its biggest franchise, that says a lot. Thunder Spirits isn't too valuable either. A loose copy is just under $25, while a complete one is only $80. The biggest value gainer by far is Ninja Commando for the Neo Geo. Even though it was standard for Neo Geo AES games to have an MSRP of $300 at release, Ninja Commando is now worth $950 for an English cart and, complete with box and manual, pushes it up to $1,130. And to think, this is one of the cheaper Neo Geo games. And that's it for today. Next week, it's Slime Time, our first sports title, and a Working Designs RPG. I'm your host, Jared, and this was Now in the 90s. Thanks for watching Now in the 90s. Please like the video and subscribe if you aren't already, and leave a comment down below, especially if you've played any of these. Like I said, I played a lot of Yoshi on the Game Boy. In fact, I played it so much when I found someone else who also had Yoshi, that was one of the first games I played 2-player using the Game Boy Link cable.